Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the August Virtual Planetarium with Pete Lawrence and myself, Paul Abel. And as ever, we will start with the inner solar system and work our way outwards. So starting with the planet Mercury, well, Mercury sets less than 30 minutes after sunset on the 1st of August, and it's really quite poorly placed at the beginning of the month. Inferior conjunction, this is when Mercury lies between the Earth and the Sun, occurs on the 19th of August. Then things improve in the morning sky. The planet's at magnitude plus 0.9 and rises some 90 minutes before the Sun by the end of August. So that would be a good time to go and look for it.
Yeah, that's one of the advantages, isn't it, of having inferior conjunction, because that's when the planet is on the part of its orbit which is nearest to the Earth. So the time it takes to go from inferior conjunction away from the Sun is pretty rapid.
It is. And of course, it's an interesting time to look at Mercury because it's either going to be a half moon or a crescent. So there's no danger of mistaking it once you've got it in the eyepiece of a telescope. Next planet out, Venus. Well, this is an evening object, but it's still not placed very well. It's setting only 40 minutes after the sun or month, so quite a difficult object. Even though it's quite bright, it's still challenging. A 1% lit waxing crescent moon sits 1.8 degrees northwest of Venus on the evening of the 5th of August. So two interesting things to look for there.
It's getting better, though, Venus. But if we carry on out, then we're starting to get into interesting territory. We've got the morning planet Mars, which rises about midnight universal time on the 1st of August. And it appears in the constellation of Taurus at the moment, not far from the orange star Aldebaran. And interestingly, both objects will be of similar brightness. So it'll be interesting to compare their appearance. You've always got an opinion on the colour of Mars and Aldebaran, haven't you?
I have indeed. And I still think stars look much more orange or much more red than Mars does. Mars is a subtle salmon pastel hue. Aldebaran and Antares are either orange or red, and they're quite different. So I can tell the difference quite easily.
Well, yeah, it's something to look forward to. And of course, early morning on the 5th of August, we've got magnitude -2 Jupiter, plus 0.9 Mars, and plus 0.8 Aldebaran, forming a right-angled triangle. Mars will be at the right angle. And then Mars, because it's a rapid-moving planet, moves east over the following mornings for a close conjunction with Jupiter on the 14th and 15th of August. And then on the 27th of August, at magnitude plus 0.8, Mars will sit 1.1 degrees north of the Crab Nebula, M1, which sounds better on paper than it will be in reality.
Yeah, that's quite a tough pairing. But we should note that by the end of August, Mars is 6 arc seconds across. So that's more than enough to start looking at. So if you've got a 6-inch, 8-inch telescope, now's a good time to start observing, because you should be able to see some detail on the disk of Mars.
Fantastic. Jupiter is also a morning planet, visible in dark skies for a couple of hours after rising at the start of August. And Mars and Jupiter, as we just mentioned, will be approaching one another in the first half of the month. And they will appear 24 arc minutes apart on the 14th of August and 23 arc minutes apart on the 15th of August. There'll be a 42% lit waning crescent moon near Jupiter on the 27th of August. And by the 31st, i.e. the end of the month, magnitude -2.1 Jupiter reaches 40 degrees altitude under dark sky conditions. It's going to get quite high, Jupiter, this year, which is really quite exciting, isn't it?
It is. It means hours and hours of contented, blissful observing, watching the swirling clouds of Jupiter. I am very excited about it. It's been some time since we've had a gas giant, more than at rooftop levels. So this is
actually, it's a good point, because when you get a really long night towards the end of the year, then you'll be able to do a full rotation observation.
You will indeed. That's something to definitely try. Saturn. Now, there's some interesting things happen with Saturn this month. So after the June solstice, the lengthening period of night really starts to help with the visibility of Saturn. So on the 1st of August, the planet reaches its highest position in the sky Gemini due south, altitude about 30 degrees under deep twilight. However, by the 10th of August, because the nights are getting longer, it reaches this position at 0230 UT under real dark conditions. And we have an interesting event happening on the 21st where Saturn will be occulted by the moon, which will be a 97% lit waning gibbous moon phase, which is quite a spectacle to see. In fact, I've never seen an occultation of Saturn.
Have you not?
By the moon. No.
Right.
Every time, it's been cloudy for me. So I'm hoping
I've seen
time.
a few of them around, blimey, this is going back in time, about 2007, I think. And I think I had a graze and I also had a proper occultation. And it is quite spectacular. This one actually occurs in the dawn twilight, but don't let that put you off because it's actually reasonably dark when it does the disappearance.
Yeah,
and reappearance is not too bad either. It's getting brighter, the sky, but you know where the moon is, and you know roughly where the edge of the moon is, where Saturn's going to come out. If you don't know that, then look in the magazine because you'll have guidance in there. And it should be possible to see it. I've seen an occultation of Saturn under really bright twilight conditions, and I was actually able to pick up Titan as well. I remember that now.
Oh, so this is all good stuff to look out for. And if you notice, one of the things you'll notice when you start observing Saturn in the season now is that the tilt is very narrow, that just 3 degrees. So the famous rings are now really closed up. And this means it's hard to see things that are much easier with a small telescope when the rings were wide open. Things like the Cassini division, the inner C ring of Saturn, this translucent ring. All of that will be really, really difficult to pull out now because the rings are so much more closed up.
And they're actually physically quite thin, aren't they? They're only sort of 10 metres to a kilometre in thickness, which means that at the larger end of that scale, if you shrunk the rings in size, you shrunk the planet down so it would fit on a sheet of paper, an A4 paper, the scale thickness of the rings would only be 1/100th the thickness of the paper. So when you get a ring plane crossing, the rings actually do disappear through smallish telescopes. You can't see them at all. So Saturn just looks like a very bland version of Jupiter.
It does. It's quite, but one that you can see though is the shadow of the rings on the globe.
Yes.
So you do get some hint that they're there. It is quite a striking, unusual view.
Yes, it is.
And one I'm looking forward to seeing. So Saturn is climbing higher in UK skies now. So as a result of that, it's less going to be affected by poor seeing and disturbance in the air. So this is going to give us some good results when imaging the planet and observing the planet visually.
Yeah, it should be fantastic.
Good times.
Sorry, good times. Good times for the planet.
Yeah.
But the ice giants, they're coming back into view as well. We've got Uranus and we've got Neptune. Uranus is in Taurus, 5.5 degrees southwest of the Pleiades. So it's moved from that really bland region of sky, hasn't it, where it's been for ages in Pisces. And now it is very close to the Pleiades open cluster. And that will give it a boost of popularity because people will be taking photographs of the Pleiades with Uranus nearby. On the 1st of August, it shines at Mag plus 5.8 and reaches 16 degrees altitude under dark sky conditions, which isn't very high. But by the end of the month, that improves to 50 degrees, which is, as we always say, almost overhead.
Practically overhead.
Neptune is in Pisces, so it's moved out of Aquarius, and that reaches peak altitude under dark sky conditions from mid-August. But at Mag plus 7.8, you'll need binoculars to see it. So, ice giants are coming back into view as well.
Yes, and we have some interesting specials now featuring some of the planets. But on the 1st of the month, just after it rises in the morning, there's a 11% waning crescent moon sitting 4.2 degrees north-northwest of the open cluster M35 in Gemini.
Yeah, it's a nice cluster, M35. It doesn't get as much coverage as it should, but it is a very rich cluster. Looks great through a small telescope. On the 2nd, if you look at Jupiter with a small telescope, Io and Ganymede's shadows will form a double shadow transit it's a low altitude Jupiter, unfortunately, and that's between 0023 and 0146 BST. That's the time when both shadows are on the disk.
Now we have a nice event on the 4th of August, and this event is solely because the rings of Saturn are tilting out, closing up now. Dione's shadow is in transit across Saturn's disk between 0027 and 0325 BST. And it's interesting to note just how slow the Saturnian moons take to cross the disk compared to Io, where a transit might be done in a couple of hours.
That's right.
It takes the moons of Saturn a lot longer because they're much further away from Saturn.
Have you ever seen Dione's shadow?
Yes,
crossing?
I have, actually. I have seen Dione's shadow. And believe it or not, I saw it with an 8-inch telescope because Saturn was very high in the sky then. This would have been way back 2008, 9, something like that. Saturn was quite high in the sky and we had some really good seeing. And I was just there and I was able to see it. It wasn't always visible once the seeing deteriorated, but it was hard to see.
It's quite small, isn't
it? It looked like a minuscule full stop. It was quite difficult, but I was able to see it. But with the 12-inch telescope, that should be much easier.
That's exciting to hear. On the 9th, we've got another double shadow transit, again with Io and Ganymede, and that can be seen between 0345 and 0426 BST. And that leads us nicely into an event which should have been good last year, but wasn't because of the weather, which is the Perseid meteor shower.
Yes, so the peak is predicted for 1500 BST, so 1400
on
UT.
The 12th, that's right.
Making the nights of the 11th to the 12th and 12th to the 13th of August the optimum viewing periods for the Perseid meteor shower. So
it's not bad this year, actually. The natural enemy of a meteor shower is the moon.
The moon,
and last year it was perfectly out of the way. And what that normally means is the year after things are rubbish. But I think there are good periods of viewing available this year. So if we assume it's going to be bad, then the clouds will stay out of the way, and then we'll get a good view of the Perseids. That's probably a bit too superstitious, but I think we will get to see something. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We can't have another clouded out Perseid meteor shower.
Don't jinx it. Yes, we could easily in the UK. It's very easily happened. But anyway, hopefully we'll see something on the 15th. Another Saturn transit, Dione again, the shadow of Dione rather, is in transit across Saturn's disk from 2314 BST to 0215 BST. So that's going through on the night of the 14th into the morning of the 15th. So if you didn't get a look at Dione's shadow on the 4th of August, see if you can spot it again on the 15th.
And if you're struggling actually spotting that tiny little dark full stop on Saturn's disk, then on the 17th there's a more obvious Saturnian moon event. If you have a look at Saturn at around 0500 BST just before sunrise, you'll see Titan virtually touching the planet's southern pole. So that's quite a nice sight, and that's sort of to do again with the ring plane crossing, because the orbit of Titan is now beginning to flatten out as well. So you're starting to see the moon interacting with the planet a bit more. So I'm really quite excited about that. We mentioned already about on the 21st that Saturn will be occulted by the 97% lit waning gibbous moon, which is incidentally at perigee. But what we didn't mention is that on the 21st, Neptune will also lie 6 arc minutes from the moon's northern edge at 22:30 BST. So that's on the evening of the day after the Saturn occultation. So moon's having a bit of a planet fest on the 21st.
And on the 26th of August, this morning's last quarter moon slides in front of the southern part of the Pleiades open cluster during the early hours. And Uranus lies just 4.6 degrees south-southwest of the moon, also on the same day. So the moon is doing lots of occulting in this month.
Yes, it is. Well, actually, not just the moon, because on the 31st, Jupiter will occult a magnitude plus 11.3 star between 0000 and 0134 BST. That's quite a difficult observation, I have to say.
Yes, but worth doing if you can get out there and do it. I have seen Jupiter during the daytime. And that's quite. It's easy to do. You can find it doesn't show as much detail. But the great thing about observing Jupiter occulting stars back in the day, this used to be a good way to see how the stars behaved as they emerged into the Jovian atmosphere.
Yes.
And you could make all sorts of interesting observations. The same used to be true as well also for lunar occultations of stars. And I think a number of stars which were double or binary, and we didn't know they were binary, were discovered by the moon passing in front of them.
That's a good point. I think with a mag at plus 11.3 star and Jupiter being so bright, visually that's going to be a bit of a problem.
Yeah,
but if you've got a camera,
dazzling.
that might pick it up. Also on the morning of the 31st, there's a 7% lit waning crescent moon less than 3 degrees north of M44, the Beehive cluster. So that's always a nice thing to look out for. Well, let's go into the night sky then and talk about the stars. So after the bright twilight nights of early July, the latter part of that month reintroduced the UK to true darkness once again. And that filters through into August with things just getting better and better. So we get some great opportunities in August to look out for the Summer Milky Way. I think August and September are probably the best months for looking for the Milky Way from the UK. We've still got the Summer Triangle, which is dominating the sky. It's in a really prominent position now. It stays prominent, well, through to December, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
And that's made from the three bright stars, Deneb in Cygnus, Vega in Lyra, and Altair in Aquila, the eagle. And it's a massive isosceles triangle, which is a bit like an arrowhead, and it points down to the southern horizon, and that's the direction down to where you will find the core of the Milky Way, which in theory should be the brightest bit we see, but because it's low altitude from the UK, even when the skies are getting darker, it often gets attenuated by the thick layer of atmosphere and murk that we get down there. I suppose the best pattern to indicate what's going on down there is the teapot, isn't it, in Sagittarius?
Yes, it's not a particularly distinctive constellation, and because it's low down, the dust in the atmosphere makes it hard to see. But once you've found it, you should be able to pick it up again. It is fairly easy when you've identified it. And of course, we've got lots of deep sky objects in Sagittarius, clusters and nebulae and various different things.
Yeah.
It's a shame they're so low down, but it is full of interesting targets.
It's surprising, actually. I don't know whether it's a psychological thing. I think there is a tendency, because things are low down and you associate that with difficult views, that you tend to steer away from things like nebulae and globular clusters because you just think it's not going to be worth it. But actually, if you do go for it, there are some great rewards to be had in Sagittarius. If you imagine the teapot with the spout of the teapot off to the western side of the pattern, where the steam would be rising out of the teapot, then it rises through loads of amazing deep sky objects like M8, the Lagoon Nebula, which is a really bright region of nebulosity, surprisingly so, actually. And then just above that, you've got M20, which is the Trifid Nebula.
Yeah, so there's a lot of very nice things there. And even if the sky is a little bright, if you've got access to a larger telescope, there is a nice amount of detail you can see in these objects. So it's worth not writing them off, and it is worth having a look at them. And of course, the centre of our galaxy, the core of the Milky Way, is right in this constellation. As you look through down to Sagittarius, you're seeing the light of billions of suns approaching the centre of the galaxy. So it is quite an impressive sight.
Yeah, it is. The brightest part of the Milky Way that we get to see from the UK is the bit which runs through Cygnus, through the asterism known as the Northern Cross, which goes really high over your head at this time of year. And the Northern Cross, the top of the cross, which is a huge cruciform shape, is marked by Deneb, but the foot of it is marked by Albario, which is a really beautiful double star, isn't it? It's always worth a look, even if you've seen it many times before, because it's quite stunning, the colours between those two stars.
It is. It's one of those things you never get tired of. It's one of the components is an orange giant star. The other one is a bluish star, but it looks turquoisey green colour to me, and I'm sure that's probably just the colour contrast between the orange primary. But I don't know. I can't recall now whether they're both gravitationally bound, whether they're a true binary system.
I think the current feeling is that they're not.
Right, that's a shame, because I always thought how wonderful a sunrise would be on any planet in that system. But
I need to go and look that up, actually, because I don't know whether the primary is it a red giant? Was it's sort of yellowish in colour to me?
Yeah, it might just towards the end of its life, but it's I thought it was yellowish orange, but
right, okay,
yeah,
but I don't know whether that's too bright for example, for Gaia to do a distance estimation on. It'll be interesting to have a look and see just where we've got to with that, because it has for a number of years flipped backwards and forwards. Sometimes it's said that it's a binary, sometimes it's just an optical double. And the reason why there is such difficulty is that we don't have enough movement data between the two stars to actually be able to show that one is in orbit around the other. But I'm pretty sure the last I read of it was not. It was just a line of sight.
Yeah, you're probably right, but it'd be interesting to find that out. The large bold constellations that donate their brightest stars of the summer triangle, they're kind of countered by a linear progression of smaller constellations, smaller patterns, beginning slightly southeast of Ibiro at the foot of the Northern Cross. So one of these constellations, the first one, is Vulpecula the Fox, which is... It's not a particularly well-defined constellation. It's quite faint, but it is quite a nice constellation and contains another deep sky object, the Dumbbell Nebula, Messier 27.
Yes, it does. Actually, Vulpecula is a weird constellation, I always think, because it's got a little bit, which is just like how can you describe it? It's like a bent line connecting three really faint stars.
Bent line.
Yeah.
Isn't that every constellation in the night sky?
More or less. Oh no, that's Aries. It's really close to Albireo, and then you think that's just really insignificant, but actually it goes right their way up under the eastern wing of Cygnus. So it occupies quite a large piece of the sky, which is really odd. It used to be called the Fox and the Goose, didn't it? Vulpeculae.
Sounds like a pub.
Answer. It does sound like a pub. But I always remember Patrick used to say, didn't he? It used to be called the Fox and the Goose. I don't know where the goose has gone. Perhaps the fox has eaten him.
Yes, perhaps.
But I think the Alpha Star, is it known as Answer, which is the goose? Yeah, I'm not sure. Might be wrong on that, but. One thing it does contain, as you've said, is Messier 27, which is sort of its saving grace, really. It's a beautiful planetary nebula. But keeping that progression of, how should we describe them, indistinct small constellations going, we've got Sagitta, the arrow. But actually, Sagittarius stands out pretty well. It does look like an arrow. I actually think it's one of the most distinctive constellations in this part of the sky. It does look like an arrow, and it is quite a distinctive pattern. Once you've seen it, you won't be able to miss it again. Yeah.
And just south of the midpoint of the arrow shaft lies a loose globular cluster, M71. Now, this is another object. We were talking earlier about Albireo and how we're not sure whether those two are gravitationally connected. M71 is also a little bit of a mystery. The object is so loose that for a long time it wasn't clear whether this was really a very loose globular cluster or a condensed open cluster. But I think it's
right on the border, isn't it? Yeah.
I think
right
it's been resolved. It is on the threshold. I think it is still defined as a loose globular the last time I read about it.
Yeah, but very, very sparse. It sort of just looks like a transitional object. It's quite interesting to look at. It's not impressive like M3, M13, etc., because it hasn't got that condensation in the core.
No.
But well worth looking out for. And if we keep going, along that progression. So you go Vulpecula and then through Sagitta the arrow, and then you eventually arrive at Delphinus the dolphin, which I think is a lovely constellation. It looks like a diamond with a tail. It's supposed to represent the nose of a bottlenose dolphin.
It kind of does look... I mean, I'm not going to say it looks dolphin-like, but I can see why people would think it has a connection to a dolphin. It is a very, very distinctive little constellation and very, very pretty. And again, just like Sagitta, once you've seen it, you'll be able to find it quite easily.
Yeah. Okay, well, to keep the progression going then to the fourth one, which in my view is one of the least spectacular regions of the sky, and that's Aquilius the Foal, which is so indistinct, Aquilius, isn't it?
It really is. I think, I'll be honest, every time I've seen it, it's been by accident. I haven't been looking for it. It is, as you say, quite a indistinct constellation, and rather overshadowed by much larger pattern to the east, representing another equine constellation. This is, of course, Pegasus, the flying horse.
Yes.
Yeah. But there we are, a little line of interesting constellations.
Yes, it is interesting.
That are best seen in the summer months.
Yeah, they do define that period as you sort of move from summer into autumn. So, plenty to look out for in the August night sky. Do get a look at Saturn if you can and just see those rings now, particularly edge on. Saturn comes to opposition next month in September, so now is a good time to get familiar with it. And we both wish you clear skies. So thank you very much, Paul, as ever.
Thanks, Pete.
And we'll see you next month.
Cheers.